Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if tech problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Viewers can visit the local scene.media/Duxbury, formerly PAC TV, to watch a video replay of this meeting on Duxbury YouTube. Good evening. Okay, we are further proceeding to go over some minutes and also to do some further work on our special town meeting on June 16th. So why don't we get the minutes done? Fran, did you get a chance to look at the revised minutes? And
I did, and I moved we approved the minutes of December 12th, 2023.
Okay, second, okay, we have Al. So why don't we'll start with you, Al.
Aye.
Brenda, I.
Betsy, aye.
Kathleen,
And Teddy?
Yeah.
Teddy, you're on mute if you're talking to me, buddy. Okay,
Gotcha. I'm here.
is that an aye?
Yes.
Okay, great. Nice picture on your phone of your nostrils there, Ted. Looking good.
Well,
I
at
want to
least
back that up a
we- At least
little.
we know he's still breathing.
That is good. That's nice. Tough crowd. All right.
It is.
Maybe you present yours, huh?
All right, let's see, we have the minutes from on the 20th. If people are comfortable, it's still fresh in our minds, and it was, what are we thinking? It's mostly the vote. So are we okay with that? Fran, did you ever get a chance to look at it, or I know that you read it, or JR? No?
I didn't get it.
Would you rather wait and do the next time, or?
What minutes were those?
I just sent them at 5 o'clock.
Oh, never mind,
Oh,
all
I have
right.
not seen them.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Tuesday.
I'm looking at them, but that doesn't mean anybody else has seen them, so,
I'm not prepared to vote.
okay, great, we will wait on that. Cool. All right, let's keep going on the warrant articles. We took care of 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5 are gonna be covered on the 29th. So let's move on to 6. Does anybody need a copy of the warrant that didn't get one the other night?
That's okay. The slides are fine.
No?
No, that's fine.
There you go, follow along, makes it more
I'm sorry.
fun.
You
Ray's
said-
putting in a.
may I ask-
We sent extra copies.
Clarification here, yes,
Huh?
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes, my
Madam
dear,
Chair,
yes, my dear.
did you just say Article 4 and 5 would be covered at another meeting? When is that?
29th,
That's
the citizens petitions.
Right?
Did I get the numbers wrong?
No, you did. I just, you went so quickly with it. I didn't realize, or I'm just
Oh,
making notes
no.
for myself.
No worries.
Okay,
The gentleman that is the citizen that did the citizens petition is gonna be coming in on the 29th, so that's good. So we will get a chance to hear from that article's proponent ahead of time. All right, very good. So we have funding for design, engineering, permitting, water quality improvement projects for the town's public drinking water. Madam?
Introduce myself as Candace Martin. I've been working with the PFAS, it's a working group in the Water and Sewer Advisory Board.
Well, and also we have our water department head, who is, I thought was gonna be presenting the articles. If you two discuss this, or typically the department head will.
Yeah, it's just kind of taking a lead on it.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're fine, okay,
it's
that's
here
it.
to answer absolutely the questions, but what I wanted to go through is what we have for the timeline, for the cash flow, and then walk you through our strategy and a quick status update. So there's only 4 slides, but I'm gonna jump to the timeline just to bring us up to, there's 4 distinct phases of the project. We've been calling it piloting. It's part of the permanent process where you do a pilot testing to define the types of filtrations you need and the sizing. So, that's all currently ongoing right now. We have the design and permitting, well, that's really the award for the construction permits. We have the bidding assistance and construction. What we were trying to achieve in our schedule is to meet the regulatory guideline of Q1 or April of 2029. EPA has now provided additional 2 years for compliance. They understand these are large projects. Sourcing the materials will become difficult because a lot of people will be trying to add updated filtration systems for their water systems. So our approach was, is that we were going to accelerate the start of design in Q3 of this year, all to try to meet a Q1 2029.
Mhm.
We were 6 months behind that. And now our approach right now would be to start in January. And the reason being is we want to go through the results of the pilot testing and reconfirm which is the priority well, making sure that we have sufficient time to go out for bids and award for the engineering. Right now, we have approval only for getting us to 50% design. And that's with the request of this warrant article. And I'll go through the details on the cost, but our strategy would be to start in January in the design. It takes about 12 months to complete a detailed design to 75% completion. The timing of that was once we have the 75%, we can start to go out for the bidding process. Or get an update on the cost, but the bidding would bring us into of 2027. And
It got to be done, but what is it that you're designing? I thought that we were still exploring, you know, what the project was gonna entail.
well, we need water treatment.
Right, but I mean, my idea of doing, are we doing money to do just a proposal, or are we doing money to actually implement?
To implement the design.
But I haven't figured out what the plan is, how are we paying for an implementation?
Right, so that's part of the pilot study and permitting. It will define what we need for the,
So the money would be to do part 1 and part 2 if you break it.
right,
down
we're
that
already
way.
doing part 1. We're already doing the pilot testing and that will be completed in November of this year.
And that's for all of the wells, or just for
Just
the
the 4 that we.
four
feel
that
like
were
primary.
illustrated, okay. And then this money would be then for taking the results of that and then determining the action plan after that.
Right, so we would start in with the preliminary design, so conceptualizing the building size. The process architect will start working on vessel size, vessel configuration that defines the building size. So all that is part of the preliminary early design phase.
So is the EPA the guidelines that we need to design to yet? Or do we, last I heard that there was still a debate going on as to what the guidelines are actually going to be on a state, federal, or whatever level it is.
Right, the guidelines for,
Wait a minute.
We've selected a priority well. It's actually 2 wells combined. It's gonna be the depot well, which is offline right now, and a Tremont well. And we're watching the Lakeshore well, and that's getting some high numbers. So we're expecting that we will possibly lose that well, and it doesn't have a good site to build treatment. So that's why we want to move forward with the depot and Tremont project.
So that it can offset the loss of that potentially lost, but what are we designing it to? What are the guidelines or
the PFAS 6, could be up in debate with EPA,
Yeah.
but the PFAS and PFOA are definitely the 4 parts per trillion.
Oh,
So
okay, good, so we did get, the last time we were kind of doing this, we were still waiting to get word back from various organizations as to what their guidelines were going to be.
Right.
This is gonna be very interesting, considering what's currently happening at the EPA. and what funding is available, or more importantly, not available this year.
If EPA even exists, they seem to be
Right.
knocking out these
So
departments.
we're talking about potentially 50% reduction in the EPA kind of project services, whatever. Are you putting that into that's in with those implications into?
Well, a lot of this funding is gonna help us meet redundancy. Because with the, depot well off, we're losing about 500 gallons a minute. Well, great amount of water, and we will probably lose Lakeshore well, and the water quality at Lakeshore right now is not good.
So does this help us address the magnesium and iron issue as
Yeah.
well?
Yes,
So is it tandem?
yes.
Okay, so
Right.
there's a duality here that is helping us with an existing identified problem. As well as the PFAS, which is obviously an identified problem, but not as legislated.
Correct, so when it's really a water quality improvement, the treatment plant is to already address the issues with both Depot and Tremont with the iron and manganese that were part of the water quality master plan, so that's 20 to 26 million that we knew we had to spend to keep those. Well, to put one back in service and to keep one.
That's aside from PFAS.
Correct.
Right, okay, I think that's really important,
Right.
you know,
And part of the piloting, so you pre-treat for the iron and manganese
Right.
in order to allow the beds that are gonna treat for PFAS to work efficiently, so it's.
kind of.
But there's a duality there that I think will be comforting to folks that are not as familiar with the data as you are. Because
Well,
we
I'm
have,
not an expert.
but we have an identified problem. These wells are obviously not servicing the public as the way they should, and this is going to resolve that as well as. Yes, in prize. Past issue.
Yeah, I think well, how it's been presented today, is that it's really, that's his point. It's really been about PFAS, right? We have a lot of questions about, PFAS in general, right? I mean, just through the world, it's a universal kind of thing, right? And it's really about.
Makes me want to get rid of my Gore-Tex.
Well, there you go, and just about everything else that, right, from the dry cleaners on down. Right? So the important, I think, part is that the iron and magnesium issue, which has been present for a number of years, right, is really being addressed. And as we go along in the evolution of this, PFAS will play into it, but it's not. I hear what you're saying, but it always sounds to me as like, well, we've got to fix the PFAS problem. Well, we're not going to fix the PFAS problem, right? We, Duxbury, are not alone going to fix the PFAS problem, but we can be positioned, right, to be as well positioned, right, in order to adopt whatever EPA standards or whatever is coming our way, as well as perhaps federal dollars or potentially Monsanto dollars, depending on how the losses go, right?
Right.
Which is gonna be 10 years down the road.
Right, well,
Right.
it's like, tobacco.
But this is preemptive strike on an identified and for
Problem.
PFAS, but also dealing with an identified issue that we need to deal with anyway.
Right,
Gotcha.
that's
Which
really
is the
important.
capacity and iron and manganese problem.
Yeah, and I think that is something that we got so caught up in talking about PFAS over the course of time that has been somewhat lost in the shuffle, and I think.
I
that-
like it until it really
Yeah.
became clear to me that it was there.
Anybody else have any questions? I'm
Yeah.
sitting with my back to my phone.
I know, it's kind of a awkward setup.
Your best side.
Yeah.
This article is for $500,000.
Right, so it's defined by the amount available in retained earnings.
In
So
the water
ideally, I would
deposit.
ask for 1.5 to cover all of the design up to when we're asking for construction money. But we're trying to fall within what's available.
Well, that was my question, because if you read the last two paragraphs of the warrant article, it's ambitious compared to the amount of money that you're requesting. It, first of all, it starts out, the depot site, no, I'll skip that. A combined treatment plant is recommended to be located adjacent to the Tremont well with installation of a transmission main to carry water from Depot Well to the Tremont Well site. Because the Tremont well is, the Depot site's turned off. To address water quality, on and on it goes. And then it goes on to say, once the combined treatment facility is also recommended for Damon and Millbrook. So you're looking at 4 different sites and 500,000 isn't gonna cover that.
Oh, no, so, and I put it up here, so we're requesting an additional 500,000 to money that's already been approved. So we have $1 million approved at last year's town meeting.
Last year's a year before that.
Yeah, so
And the money is specifically for the treatment facility at Tremont Street Well?
the design will be for the Tremont Street well,
Tremont Depot, it's a combo, right?
Yeah.
Depot Tremont, but it will be at the Tremont site. We are, at the time, we are doing the pilot testing for also Damon and Millbrook. There was a debate on, well, if we have a over a 20% reduction in water consumption, we might not need Depot. So that's why we proceeded with the pilot testing of all 4 wells. So by this December, we make a final decision of where we are with water conservation. If we have a 10%, we still need Damon.
So one of the things I think I've been, personally kind of focused in on is the fact that, you've been dealing with blown pipes all over town. Does this leave enough money in your retained earnings or projected retained earnings to continue on your replacement strategy to replace these pipes that are beyond their useful life?
Well,
Can I speak to that for a second? So retained earnings currently stands at 2.5 million.
Mhm,
So this would bring retained earnings down to just over 2 million.
mhm.
I'm using round numbers here. There have been some previous articles that have already been approved for some of these water main replacement projects. I anticipate that at the Springtown meeting, at the next March meeting, that we will be appropriating additional funding for continued water main replacements and system upgrades. But we are also, as part of the water rate adjustments that we have done, part of that whole process was to continue to generate additional revenues so that those water main projects can continue.
Yeah.
I mean, those water main projects are an annual event.
Right, or they have to be prioritized.
Correct.
To the structure of the water system has to remain with its integrity. We don't want to compromise.
We have to keep the operation.
And obviously, it's gotten a little bit behind, or you wouldn't be standing up to your neck. in
there's
mud.
plenty of work up there.
Yeah. Okay,
So the request is to address from your question, we're asking for 500,000, and that will allow us in January to go out and bid the engineering and cover for the 50% design.
and if something happens between now and then, you don't have to spend the money anyway.
Correct. Yep. I know there was a question of,
And the source of those funds,
Retained earnings.
retained earnings.
so we have appropriated funds of 1.2 million right now.
Mhm.
So the old Article 14 was rolled over to 15 ideally, so we have 1.2 available.
Great.
We've awarded about 580,000, that's for the pilot testing and also the project management oversight. This week, we've been invoiced 32,000. We will spend that full amount by the end of the year, all of those activities will be completed. So,
And that date is useful to us regardless of what EPA decides or anybody else. The data is the data, right?
right,
So wouldn't be forced to test for something else. I mean, to your knowledge.
No.
Okay. But
We see the rest of your slides?
that's it.
We see the rest of your slides?
Sure. So this is the status update is was talking to the window extended from April of 2029 to Q1 2031. We plan, right now, our forecast is for the first treatment plant to be completed in Q1 2030. So that gives us the timing to go to town meeting in 2027 to request the construction. The timing works. If we have delays, then there might be needs for temporary funding but right now we're meeting the compliance window with the first piece.
So calendar 27 for FY 28.
Yes.
Okay.
So, pilot testing, was planned to be underway. We have approval from, Mass DEP on our test plan. Right now, we're trying to work with the company, the contractor that would perform the work. And I'm trying to schedule that. It was planned to start in May, so we're slipping, but it's, not too bad just yet. Latest PFAS sampling from, this month, Lakeshore is now over the compliance limit. And that's taken the average of 4 samples. So if you have a sample of less than 4, it drops to 0. These were consistently above 4. Lakeshore site is limited and putting a treatment facility for a plant that size is a lot of money for little benefit. So the plan is, or the intent now is to get the depot well back in service to meet the regulatory deadline. And right now, if we have a 10% reduction, we still need the depot well. We will know so feel free to stop there.
So Lakeshore is closed.
I had my hand,
No.
I'm first,
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. Okay.
back to again. To get Depot back online, you have to put a treatment facility at Fremont Street and run a main back and forth between the two.
Not back and forth, just one way.
Well, connect the two.
Yeah.
So that you could provide the treated water for the other well, so it can then disperse through its network.
Correct.
Thank you, I'm trying to understand.
It is a confusing mess, but, so and the reason being the depot site has no room to add filtration equipment, and it's because of the volumes, it's better to combine the 2 plants. So back to the slide that I showed on the timeline, and Mary had zoomed it out, no, you can just, right now, we're into 2030. It's timing so that we'll hit annual town meetings with the request for funding. So and that's why we're asking for the 500,000, so we can continue without any delay. We will need to request additional money at next town meeting to complete the engineering. We don't know what that gap is. If you go to the next slide, so the
Next, as in the next March.
yes. I know,
I don't think you're ever gonna stop asking.
I know.
Sorry, that wasn't an insult. I don't see how you can avoid it.
Well, my concern was that we're asking for $1 and then like, wait a minute, didn't I already give you $1? And instead of asking for the 38 million, which we don't have in.
Nope. Don't be doing that.
We tried that with our override, you saw what we got.
Okay, no, I want to be upfront with people that there's more requests coming, but we're doing this in,
And we know we've got a deficit.
Okay.
So we've
All right.
got to live with it.
this cash flow shows, what we've spent on the pilot studies, the project management. The forecast for design services, we don't have a design firm on board. This is my estimate of a typical cash flow where you are doing architectural process engineering initially, and then you ramp up, bringing in all of the, mechanical, electrical and plumbing design. So what I am saying is that, well, the total design services are 2.1. We will start that in January, hopefully. Any gap in the approved funds that we get from this town meeting, we will have a full confirmed design estimate. And we'll say, is it 2.1 or is it 1.8? But we will be requesting the gap in our approved funding to what we have now to what we need to complete the full design. If we don't get this town warrant approved,
They're 500.
but the 500, we could potentially have a 2 or 3 month delay.
Right.
But, that's,
Mark, I'm assuming as the head of the water department, you're 100% on board with this?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say if there's gonna be delays and we could hold off, but it's always good to have that money. You have an opportunity to get some work done that needs to be done, and we can go move forward with it.
And Mary and Rainey, you're from a financial perspective, you're on board with this as well?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
There's an additional point I'd like to make, a couple of points.
Feel free.
All right, Jim Begley, Elm Street, Duxbury, and I'm on the PFAS working group.
Mhm.
One of the things to consider here that Candace mentioned, but I just want to emphasize is that every town in Massachusetts and many in the country will be looking for the components of these systems as soon as they can. And to get ahead of that curve is gonna save us a lot of money. It's just bound to, because of the pipeline for this material is gonna be clogged. The other thing I wanted to make a point about is that, the EPA has extended the deadline for enforcement of these requirements, but they are in fact promulgated contaminant level requirements that we must meet, and we're currently exceeding those levels. So it's not a matter of which way is the EPA going to go on this. They've actually said very recently that they're very much behind taking action on PFAS from all perspectives, from drinking water perspective, from the perspective of taking action against the polluters that originally produced the material. There's a lot of things that they're focusing on, which are good right now. And as long as if we're delayed and until we're done, we're currently providing contaminated water to our residents. Beyond the obvious health implications of that, there's a good potential that the town could be sued. For doing that.
I'm begging.
No.
So,
Okay.
I'm begging.
Yeah. Well, what are you begging me? I don't understand.
These are worst case scenarios that you could go out on any given issue. I think that we have, as a community and with your help.
Yeah.
Certainly have been responsive to this as an issue, but
You've made a lot
telling
of
people
progress.
that we're giving them contaminated water. When the entire country is dealing with this as an issue, it's just perspective. It's not Duxbury's contaminated water. It is the entire country's contamination that we are trying to deal with actually in a very proactive manner.
We are, and I'm just saying that we should continue to be proactive.
Yeah, and I
Obviously,
hear that,
it's gonna take years to implement this, no doubt.
right, and that's why I'm just saying, it's all.
But saying that we're providing contaminated water to our citizens is gonna put a panic in place, and people won't drink our water anymore. They'll start buying water, they'll do all these crazy things.
People are starting to be more and more aware of it.
Well,
It is an issue.
and it's one of those science things that we only got smarter recently to figure out there really was a problem. We
Absolutely.
didn't know it
Yeah.
existed 5 years ago.
I'm
And our thresholds is here, and then it went to here, now it's going to here. So they keep making it, was it 4 parts per trillion?
Yeah.
So it's a very small detectable level, and
Absolutely.
I think that's a protective level.
Yeah.
That at that level, you don't have to worry about it, but it's gonna be in our water.
Right now, we're at 20.
It's not gonna go away. We haven't figured out how to get rid of it, other than.
Yes,
treatment.
absolutely.
Or if it's even possible, right?
Oh, it's possible to
Compliance with all
take it out.
regulations at this time.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes, of course, I'm so sorry.
so I came in late from a different meeting.
We
Our water-
forgive you and we accept that apology.
Our water is compliant.
Yes, I
But
was
I
just
just want
on
to make sure
there.
the record is straight on that. But
Yeah.
our water is compliant with federal and state requirements.
Right, and
Yes,
Lake
thank you.
Well is also compliant. It will not be taken out of service right now unless it, for some reason it goes beyond the current regulations of 20 parts per trillion.
Right, and or if the regulations change in some fashion, but my point is, and I'm sorry, I'm sometimes blunt and but I'm not a mystery. We just don't want to cause, we just don't want to cause anxiety where we should not. We are in compliance, as
What-
Brian said, we are just trying to be proactive.
What I'm
and
trying
make
to
sure.
tell this group is that we should be as proactive as we can.
Yes.
That's my point.
And I think that obviously what's happened to date reflects that desire.
Right. So, so when we request this, I do want people to know that be at the next town meeting. We're being limited by the available funds in retained earnings and using it wisely. It's not holding us up.
But
But
we still have 1.2 million available that's already passed at previous town meetings, so there is money in the kitty.
yeah, for me, it seems like a piecemeal approach, and there's a reason for it, and that's,
Right, just want to do
Yes.
38 million available.
right.
We don't have the ability to carry additional debt. So we have to be mindful of even, even if tomorrow we said, I need $38 million and the sky's falling, we haven't got it.
Right.
So we have, I think that this is a thoughtful approach.
Right.
And
Can
we
you provide
appreciate
the
that.
committee with copies of this slide?
Sure, I will
presentation?
change it to Article 6.
And
No,
what I'll
that'd be
do is I'll
great.
put it up on the website, under that it was presented here tonight at the finance committee, because folks are gonna wanna look at it.
Sure,
Can you, Jane, just
I
change
can,
Article 6
absolutely.
for me, then?
Absolutely.
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Any other questions or suggestions?
Nope, not at this point.
Get it well,
Did you wanna move this?
so we don't.
I had this as a reference slide, it shows what wells will be out of compliant in 2031. And off to the left, you probably can't read it, that's Lake Shore, it's off on its own, small site. Adding treatment plant is not gonna be a cheap option. And then to maintain a separate plant, so the plan would be, the depot that's noted in red, I'm sorry, that's Partridge Depot is noted in yellow. Right now, it's not consistently over the 4 parts per trillion, but that will be combined with Tremont, and then, at the top, whether, Damon, Millbrook, a new treatment plant will deal with that as we proceed with the pilot studies.
So, Margaret, that would provide enough water pressure to service Lake Shore, correct?
Yes. It'll be replacing Lake Shore.
Didn't we put a water tower out there to keep the water, because there was an issue with water pressure a few years ago?
They replaced the Birch Street tank and put a taller one in.
Yeah,
Now they have better water pressure with it.
yeah, okay,
That's a reference slide just to show where the wells are located.
okay.
And this is just to note the EPA regulations, the time window was extended, so instead of 5-year compliance, we now have to Q1 2031. And those are the enforceable limits noted.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You want to vote the article?
Yeah.
Sure, that, we might as well keep going through this. I mean, June
Well, not
16th will be
time.
here. If everybody's happy with, I mean, the information is new. JR, did you?
No, I'm happy.
I'm not sure happy is the word I'd use. Concerned, yes, but
You feel satisfied
do-
that you
we
have the
gotta do it.
information that's available?
we gotta do it.
You gotta do it, so.
Well, and also I think one of the things that, although we approve this, there's still money in the hopper and they're not gonna spend the money unless there's a reason to go forward and gather additional information. So,
I got you.
yeah.
Okay, move to approve Article 6, funding for the design, engineering and permitting water quality improvement projects for the town's public drinking water supply.
Second,
All right, why don't we start? Al,
Aye.
Petty,
Aye.
There, I.
friend, I.
Betsy, I.
Kathleen, I.
Okay, good.
Right.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
600.
I appreciate your patience with us.
Yeah,
It's not,
I appreciate the questions.
well, it's previews of coming attractions. That's always, so that's good. Take care.
We need a warrant, mark up.
I had some extras too that I had
you
offered.
sent out that revised one.
No, you just say.
No, it's nothing
That's
changed,
what I was looking at.
The one I gave you
Somebody
the
else-
other night,
I figured
it's
This
the
is
same
an extra,
one.
if somebody else can use it.
I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's Mr. McGee. How are you, sir? All right.
I'm
Moving-
fine, thank you.
Okay, 7, 4th of July celebration. Mary, could you, just clarify, because Brian and I had spoken the other night, that these monies are not for this summer, they're for the summer after, and how that funding is in place? We already have 25,000.
I think you just summarized it very nicely.
I know, but Mary's saying it has more gravitas
She
than
likes
Betsy
to ask
saying.
questions she knows the answer to.
Yeah.
I like to ask a question as a statement with the
Yes,
answer.
well, it has a little more gravitas, so, and the monies that we are looking for, to be clear, are not for this summer, have nothing to do with the events or the overtime or anything else for this summer. These would be monies that would be now voted and held in place for, July 26th.
Why?
Because we always voted a year ahead. We've always voted it a year ahead because there's,
Don't we voted in March?
yeah. And we didn't vote it last March. So the monies that you would need, because 5A, 5B. And it was, so it was cut from 5A.
So we didn't have the money for it then,
From the operating budget, yep.
from the operating budget then. What makes it suddenly appear for 2027?
It'd be going from.
And what aren't we spending money on that we're spending on the 4th of July parade?
It's
6.
free, this is,
26.
this money, if it is taken from free cash. It had been moved for the last year's budget into the operating budget, which means that it was a revenue issue, not a free cash issue. If this is taken from free cash, it will then be held in abeyance until the following year, not used this summer, the way it stands now.
So I guess my question is, and
Which is why I'm bringing it up.
I'm not trying to be the party pooper of the world here, but we have priorities about how we're spending our money, given that we have some pretty significant shortfalls. And I'm having a tough time wrapping my head around $25,000 for the July 4th celebration. Going forward.
It's not the July 4th celebration for this summer. We've already, just to be clear, we've already, that money is already.
But we've got the same problem. The problem isn't going away.
No, absolutely not. But I think there has been a lot of talk around that this money was for this summer,
No, I
and I
think we
just want to
I
make
think
it
we
clear
understand
it's
that.
not.
No, I understood that. I understood that it was for,
Yeah,
And the reason that we do it a year before is so that the committees have a chance to hire
Right.
bands and stuff.
right,
like that.
it's for their
Know they've got
deposits.
some
and do their fundraising.
See, money.
Fundraising too, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I understand that, and I understand. I guess
It's a bigger discussion is what you're saying.
it's a much larger discussion.
Yeah.
It's a much larger
Should we be
discussion,
doing
and on the face of it, it's odd,
It is odd.
right? It's a PR thing, it's a,
Well, Brian, why did and I'm not, you keep showing up and I love that you do. But then I have to ask you questions and I feel guilty,
That's why
so.
Yeah, sure. If I don't know it, I'm gonna ask Rainey anyway.
They're good for me.
Mike's here too.
And, yeah, Mike, well, why don't we put Mike on the thing? We'll just throw it at him. Why did you guys bring this article?
Rainey?
We weren't able to do it at the annual. And people had said, well, we need to get the article squared away so that we could still have a 4th of July parade. So
and we weren't able to do it at the annual because.
it was
Cut out
the
from
5A budget. We were trying to move it into the operating budget, which is where it really belongs. So what we did is put it in the contingency budget.
And the contingency budget was not voted
Correct.
positively. I still think that if we didn't have it in an approved contingency budget, why are we spending the money?
So the reason that it's appearing on the warrant right now in front of us is based on conversations, meetings that we've had subsequent to the override not passing. There's been some consternation about the fact that there was not funding appropriated for the parade. It is a beloved event in this community, and after meeting with some members of the parade committee and also the Board of Selectmen, having a conversation about this at a relatively recent meeting. I had requested to Rainey to put this on for contemplation, on whether people think that this is enough of a priority, to fund versus other items that didn't get funded in the budget.
So
And it was
employee. fee
acknowledged
enough? I'm
from
sure. I
this
understand.
discussion,
Oh,
that we're
it
not
was the-
talking about this Fourth of July, but
It would
next
be,
Fourth of July.
so the way that funds are appropriated here for the 4th of July and bonfire, just general celebrations, is that those monies are voted in advance. So the funding that was appropriated at the March 9th, 2024 town meeting, those funds are available for the July 4th, 2025 parade. This funding here is funding for the July 4th, 2026 parade.
And to be clear, we could do it in the special within the annual next March to the same effect.
Correct.
That's not my issue, and I.
JR.
No, I know,
JR
I'm
has a
just
question.
making, I'm just trying to
So,
get the mechanics out there, that's all, because I think there's been
so
some.
the
general-
25,000 is spent by the committee as far as, it's for bands and everything else. The fact that we still have police overtime and fire and all that is still,
Not being touched
Still an
is
issue.
still an issue. We have,
I understand.
which to the tune of. And I had asked Mary to do some work on that. As far as what the actual overtime shortfall would, or overtime expense would be. And between 30 and 40 grand for the
So-
two events.
For the parade, it's $28,000 in overtime between police and fire. And for the bonfire, it's a little over 22,000.
And that is not being addressed by this article at all.
Right, that's what I wanted to make
Never
sure.
was.
Never
we
was.
understood that.
But I think that there's a lot of confusion out there.
Why I asked.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Mike, did you want to say something on that?
Somebody-
Oh, was it Teddy? I'm sorry, Ted?
Yeah, a question. Can the monies that have been approved for the July 4th parade for this coming July 4th,
Yeah.
can those monies, even though they've already been approved, be redirected to fund some of the things we've been forced to cut? Like teachers, for example? Or is that cast in stone?
It's already appropriated.
I know it's appropriated, that's not the question. The question is, can it be redirected, even though it's been appropriated?
Only through town meeting.
Only
action.
through town meeting, but some of those funds have already been spent. Because the committee, and rightfully so, they haven't done anything inappropriate, but rightfully so, have used some of those funds for deposits for their typical events. That they've done for years. So some of the monies have already been used.
I think we have a perception problem. When we're
Yeah.
going through the kinds of things we're going through to meet the budget requirements approved by town meeting, to be spending money on a parade, to me, doesn't seem right. To me, it just gives off the wrong image.
I agree.
It's not just a parade, I think that the conversation is surrounded the parade and Labor Day. Is that correct, Brian?
It is.
Yes?
I'm looking right, I don't know.
So, well, no, it's the select board that's been having these conversations, I mean, it is both events that seems to have been a concern.
That's the idea.
Well, yeah, and Mike's got some thoughts on it too. I get
No,
it.
I'm- Don't worry, I'm not gonna ignore him.
All
That's my point.
Mike, did you have something you wanted to say? There you are, how are you doing, buddy?
I will not be ignored, Betsy,
No, and nor
like
should,
like that movie.
nobody puts Mikey in the corner, no.
No, I appreciate this. I think it's an opportunity too to also talk about overtime here. I think that's what it comes down to. The money's been appropriated. There was a little bit of misinformation about, this is the first I'm learning of the 2024 money being used for this coming year. I thought that it being in the contingency budget meant that there was no parade or beach party money for this year. So now that I understand that, I think the bigger question is our funding of overtime. We have all kinds of reasons we need overtime. And this has been an issue since the crime bill came out. And it needs to be addressed. And I'd like to hear from the chiefs on this too, when we take it up as a select board, to see what they were doing in years past as well, because this isn't a this year problem. I think it's an important discussion, and a different narrative than we're talking about here about teachers versus parties and things like that. I think this is an issue we need to tackle and really understand the needs of our police and fire with respect to overtime, because I think that's the issue.
So the reason that we have this question on the table about overtime is in years past, it was covered in the police and fire department budgets. However, for FY 26, each department is down 2 positions. And so in order to provide services, their overtime dollars that are in their budget are going to be used to cover basic shifts. And so because they are now, their staff has been reduced, the services that they provide have not been reduced. And so those overtime dollars are now earmarked and poised to be used to cover everyday shifts, operational shifts.
I think what I'm gonna recommend before we vote or whatever, is we're so good at kicking things down the road. Let's kick this down the road to a special in March and see what's going on. Get a
Right.
better gut.
Right. I don't disagree. Mike, do you had something you had to say? And then Teddy, I'll write, is your little mitten up there because you want to say something else, Teddy, or is it just from
Yes.
before?
Yes,
All right, Mike, let Mike speak and then I'll get right to you, okay? Okay,
That's all I had to say, and I always
No,
defer
no,
to Ted.
Mike Woodford, Mike.
Oh, I was gonna say, I defer to Ted Flynn all the time.
oh, Mike, you're the man.
So he has his mitten up.
No, he doesn't. That's
That's the
Linda's
the
mom.
cursor.
Oh, that's Linda's mom. Okay, Teddy, go ahead.
I never got an answer to the question. All I heard was crickets. Does that money approved last year for this parade have to be spent on the parade? Or can it be redirected to something else or just not used?
Now, obviously it cannot be used, and it goes back into free cash at the end of the year.
No, I'm sorry, it doesn't.
It doesn't, it just sits there indefinitely.
That is correct. It is a warrant article.
Oh.
It wasn't operating.
budget.
No, it's a
It was warranted.
It was in there.
We changed that this year.
Correct, but to answer your question, as we sit here today, the answer, the question is, can those monies be used, those monies that were directly appropriated for the July 4th, 2025 parade, can those monies be used for another purpose? And the answer is no, not without a town meeting vote.
Okay, but that doesn't mean then that the monies have to be spent on the parade. The selectmen would have the power to say no on the parade.
Well, there have been contracts executed, Ted, with people, so I don't know if Rainey or Brian know to what extent those monies have been committed. I certainly don't know.
So it wouldn't, so what's happening here, Ted, is it wouldn't be the full amount, so it wouldn't be the full 25,000. So if there have been contracts for the vendors that have been executed already, we'd have to pay those people. But as Mary said, the answer is no, but it's a qualified no. There would have to be another article proposed to reappropriate the funds from one article to another. And that takes town meeting action to do that.
How much do we know in terms of dollars, how much we've already contracted for? You know, is it 2,000? Is it 5,000?
I can tell you.
No.
Oh,
So to date, what we have paid out is just under 18,000. But there are purchase orders, and I don't have the amount of the purchase orders in front of me for committed obligations.
So essentially it's exhausted.
so pretty much it's been spent, Ted.
Because Ted, the way it works is once they have a band or an outfit go through the parade, literally on July 5th, they're booking them for next year. Because, hey, you guys we want you to come back. And so they're gonna get some kind of
They get
obligation
a
from them.
purchase order, which is a contractual obligation.
Yeah, so they get that obligation so that we can put them on the hook to have them come back the next year.
And if last year it wasn't an issue, but this year, or years going forward, it has become one.
Right, and
So I'm with JR.
just to be clear, we have done it this way, Teddy, for as long as I can remember,
Since
which is
1971.
longer than dirt. that we have always had the monies appropriated at the March town meeting, so if you appropriate it in March of 25, you're looking at money that is going to be available for the parade in July of 26.
Yeah,
That. and it
that's
was
understood. I
Okay.
understand. I'm more concerned about how does it look when we are having a parade when we're butchering the budget? You know, what kind of a view is that? And is anybody concerned about how it looks?
Sure.
The analogy to the Titanic's band has been made.
Or just moving the shares.
The other side of that coin, Ted, is are we being petty and vindictive because we didn't get our override approved?
No.
No,
Did we-
I don't.
Just let me finish. A lot of people,
Absolutely.
a lot of people in the community feel that way, that we're overreacting and not providing monies for the parade because we didn't get our way. And I honestly don't feel that way. And why, well, maybe he's leaving the room, like we don't have a quorum anymore.
No, I was just throwing something.
So I think we have to look at this rationally, and the parade is gonna happen, whether we like it or not. I think the 25,000 or what's left of it wouldn't hire one person back that's job has been eliminated, which is terrible. I think what we've got to do is put this whole thing behind us and focus on next year's budget and realize that we're gonna have a deficit, regardless of what we do with this special, with the other articles that are looking to spend more money on bodies. And focus then to try to come forward with an override that makes sense to the voters. We can get their support to fill these positions and to do the parade and do all the things we've been doing since dirt, as Betsy likes to say.
But
So there's two sides to this.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's somewhere in the middle. And frankly, I think the parade should go forward. It's something that means a lot to the community, to everybody in it. I think the overtime issue is a real issue, but there's $1,400,000 in overtime between the police and the fire departments right now on the budget. And if we're short 2 people in that department and 2 more people in the fire, those are positions that could have eliminated some of that overtime. But that's a bigger problem down the road, and I think we've got to focus on that going forward and not the parade, which means a lot to a lot of people.
But Frank, I just want to interject, and I.
You don't have to interject, you can talk. I'm done.
I wanted to. Are you finished with? what-
I just said I'm done.
Okay. So. I don't think it was our way, right? It's not up to us to say whether or not an override gets approved or not. It is our responsibility to present the facts, right? So I do understand, the perception of the $25,000, why are we having a party when, 2 parties, when we're laying off
Right.
fire and police and so on and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, that was a citizens vote that said, we're not gonna go with 5B. And there are some considerations and some decisions that are going to have to be made regarding priorities, whether it be a parade, but let's not focus on the parade, let's focus on the large picture, right? So, we get caught up perhaps about the tradition of the parade and the celebration, of the importance to the town. Of course, that tradition is important, but yet we are in a time that we are looking at deficits that are in our infrastructure, right? That need to be addressed and considered as we prioritize how the dollars are spent. And what makes sense. That is my point to this. It doesn't have to be specific to a parade, although I agree with Ted that the perception of that is a little wonky, right? It is with anything that we spend, with any kind of expenditure, has to be placed and prioritized in a way that makes sense for the good of the entire town. That's all.
Fine.
Ta-da, let's,
Where are we
And I think JR's correct.
suggestions
I
great.
think that this is something we could deal with in the special within the annual next March, when we have a better idea.
I agree.
I agree.
As opposed to, you know, what, because the question isn't the 25 grand. I mean.
That's my point.
Yeah, it's the overtime,
I get
and
it.
it's, yeah,
I agree completely, and that can't be addressed here. We've got to address that with the overall budget considerations
Exactly.
coming up.
well, we'll know by
Which is the
next
bigger
March how
question.
badly the overtime has been hit by the fact that they're covering shifts.
I get it.
Yeah.
I understand there's a transfer coming later before June 30.
I'm sorry, did you,
So how do we do that?
We can either vote it up or down. Or you want to
Brian, did you have anything else you wanted to?
Yeah, when she's at,
I don't blame you.
What do you want to do, and definitely postpone it, or,
Well, I'm not on the finance committee.
no, ha, ha, ha. The, are you suggesting that we would be better served to indefinitely postpone as opposed to, voting it, not carrying a vote?
Yeah,
Or what would be the procedure? It doesn't matter, 6 on one side, half dozen on
We
the other.
can't IP it because we're not the sponsors.
No, that would be up to you to.
Right, all we can do is vote yes or no, or no vote at all.
Right.
You can vote to recommend IP.
Yeah.
That's what You're
You
voting a
can vote to
recommendation.
recommend to IP it.
Mike has his hand.
Okay. Like, hand up,
Mike,
cute little hand.
is a little
Just
bit.
based upon what I've learned tonight, it seemed like a little bit misleading because I thought this was an article to save the parade for 2025, and I think a lot of people would think that if they're showing up to town meeting. So I think indefinitely postponing it would make a lot more sense, as we've always handled this in March. So if this is for next year, then I think people are gonna be asking the same questions I'm asking tonight on the town meeting floor. If it's sitting on the warrant for the June town meeting.
Right.
So it's a little misleading. People are gonna think they're saving the parade in June for July. And
Yeah,
it's not
it
the
was,
case.
no, it was never the case, but that somehow got lost in translation.
Maybe I'm a bad listener. So,
No, there's
But-
lots of,
So why don't we
why don't we?
why don't we not do anything tonight and let's see how the selectmen handle it at their meeting?
Okay.
You
don't have to
in
vote
terms of IP.
You're gonna
You guys
have,
Oh,
won't
whatever
have
they
a
wanna
vote
do.
listed in the book
If they
then,
do that.
because they're
And
not
then
taking it up until
somebody's
June
gonna-
9th.
Hopefully by then,
Oh,
by May 25th, or that our next meeting, or whenever that is,
But not 29, but
29th.
it won't be in the book, but who cares?
it doesn't
Okay.
matter. It'll be on the.
It
book.
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have it by then, and, you know, we're gonna take this ball and right back to you, Brian.
That's right. Randy, is it the 2nd or the 9th that we're gonna take?
The 9th.
pick up the votes? Okay.
You're gonna look at them all.
So.
Yeah.
Okey dokey.
Mike, your hand is still up. Did you have anything else to add? Okay.
Nope.
thank you.
This little mitten's gone, all right. Teddy, you all set?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so
Rock.
4th of July. And, the other piece of it, just when we discussed it, the 25 grand is for the parade. And the conversation that I was party to at your meeting was a lot more focused on the availability of funds for the Labor Day party as well. For this year coming up, and how that was gonna be impacted, so that'll be part of the conversation, that just when you're discussing it, make sure it's part A, part B, there's 2 events.
I,
And this only, the 25 grand
if
is
we're
for the
gonna,
parade.
if we're gonna move on this now or whatever, or even in March, I would like to know the cost of the parade versus the bonfire. Because I personally, I would hate to see the parade go away.
Yeah.
But the bonfire is frankly, no skin off my teeth. You know, I don't, whether they do it or not.
I might have that. I'll look it up.
So I don't
I
think
thought
we
you
need to
just
discuss it
quoted it earlier,
anymore
Mary.
now.
That was just for overtime. We have the total cost of it.
All the total cost.
I don't think the bonfire has much expense to it,
You would think that, wouldn't you?
or except for, maybe I could be cuckoo on that. Are you looking it up? Do you want me to wait?
No, keep going. We can come back.
All right, so let's go to, we're gonna IP, Article 8. Article 8 was, and Mary can explain, but to the best of my understanding, was an attempt to accurately reflect the expenses of the rock, and attribute the grant monies to one part of it and the actual monies that we collect from the supporting towns. And it's just confusing, and I don't think we need to be confused at this special, so I think we should just leave it the way
Looks
it
like
is.
something that belongs in the annual.
Well, I think it's something that, it's just a change in how we do it with the same outcome. So I think we should IP it. I don't really want to do any constructive changes to how we do our accounting practices for this special. And Mary's gonna maybe reflect on it and see if we change it, if it's worth the trouble of changing it, just for an accounting procedure.
The article's being withdrawn. Plain and simple.
Got it.
Okay,
So
we talk about 9?
well, I think we can vote on that,
Nate, IP it.
for IPing that.
Vote to, indefinitely postpone Article 8, amend fiscal year 26 operating budget, Rock Enterprise.
Second,
Teddy?
Yes,
Okay, Al?
JRI.
Brenda,
Betsy, I.
Kathleen, I.
Okay, so vote to IP that, 600. Capital budget. Okay. Sir, you're up on deck now,
Sure.
Mr. Harbor Master, sir.
So, you have seen this before. I'll just quick timeline in September of 2023, we had gotten our capital request for March town meeting in 2024. We had that. Monies appropriated were $53,551. We went out to bid in December of 2024 with no response, and again in January of 2025 with one response. We do not have enough money to facilitate the cost that we previously estimated. So now I have gotten a recent update, and the recent update is an additional.
So it costs more than it did when we voted it the last time.
Well, it cost, yes, exactly. I didn't have enough by the time
Inflation.
it came to bid.
Yep. Okay. Anybody have any more questions?
The funding source is the Waterways Improvement
that
Fund.
was my question.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry,
There's 420,000 in it.
Correct.
Move to approve.
No, let's wait, we're gonna do the.
Stunned.
Huh?
You put it up for bid and nobody bid on selling you 2 engines? Is that what I heard?
First time, and then the second time, somebody did bid and we just didn't have enough money.
You're like 79.50.
Because of the
No,
amount
we
that
were
you
substantially-
quoted that you wanted to buy us for? Is that why you had no responses? Because of the amount you said you had?
We didn't have the amount for the engine.
But nobody just bid on selling you 2 engines?
Yes, they did for $100,000.
Oh, thank you.
So we did get one bid, but we don't have enough money for that. And we wouldn't have gone with them anyhow, because that was.
Okay.
Obviously,
Thank you.
that's not,
Highway robbery.
I mean, essentially that was.
Yeah, you were being robbed. Okay,
So
All
the
right.
realistic bids were saying, we can't put in a bid because you don't have enough money. And then somebody just was like,
yeah,
"See if we shoot the moon." Yeah, exactly.
see how desperate they are.
Yep.
Okay, okay. PEG access.
Good evening.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How is everyone?
This time, Mike.
We're living the dream here.
I could see that.
Tell what
What a
you
dream
need.
it is. Yeah, so thank you. So the article is looking to appropriate $60,000 from our PEG TV fund, basically to allow IT to develop and implement a plan that's going to address ongoing issues with sound recording and broadcasting in all of our town managed public meeting spaces. So namely, perhaps the space that you're sitting in right now, which I think Ms. Sullivan said it was awkward at the beginning of the meeting. So yeah. So we sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a nightmare. We have been, I can't even tell you how many times it hasn't worked. We've, yeah.
We're all IT techs, Mike. We've all been graduated to the help desk and IT technology for Yes, I support.
It does not work.
Brent, can I answer your question?
Yes.
You asked if it included the PAC and the answer is no.
Mhm.
So let me explain. So PEG access is funding that is available for both local government as well as education access. And the town has previously appropriated in prior years funding specifically for the school department for educational use only. So there are funds already available for addressing these issues within our school department. This is seeking to appropriate funding for us to address local government or town side PEG
Fair
access issues.
Like the mural room or here.
Correct. So Mike and I have talked, he's been working very closely with PAC TV. Our two primary rooms that we were focusing on was this classroom as well as the Ellison room. And the reason that it's being moved now is because we're hoping that this work is going to be done over the summer months as we start to move into the budget season. And we know we are going to be hosting meetings over the summer and the fall. We don't want to wait until next March to get the funding in order to do those improvements now.
Well, if I want anything done at the PAC, I should talk to the school.
Correct.
Thank you.
But you can talk to Mr. Woodford and I think he'll take your message back.
Anytime, I'd be happy to chat.
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Of
Mike.
course. Thank you.
All right, can I have a motion, please? Oh, no, motion for the 1 and 2 here under capital.
Move to approve
Article
Article 9 capital budget. Line.
What?
I seconded it.
Oh. All right, let's get home. Preemptive strike there, that's
I
good.
thought you were done. Sorry.
I was gonna give more detail, but I'm.
Oh, well, go ahead, give the detail, but you second.
All right, Article 9 capital budget for a total of 67,950. All right, so harbor master and PEG access. Okey dokey pokey. Petty,
Yes.
Al,
Aye.
ARI.
Brenda,
Betsy, I,
Kathleen, I.
okay, 600. Thank you. All right, we're getting there, kids.
that it?
Nope. Almost.
Oh, there's another page. Oh, I
We have two more things that we have to do. We have to do supplemental appropriations and we have a couple of transfers. Hang in there with me. Supplemental appropriations. Mary, do you want to go over these?
Yes, so this is to address the FY 26 budget. No one knows the 5A budget. And this is to true up our debts, primarily our debt service budget. So we will be issuing debt in September in the fall of this year for previously approved projects. So the DPW, thank you, DPW, fall, PFAS and the fire department brush breaker. You guys had approved a fire truck a couple of years ago. And given the supply chain delays, we are just now about to issue a debt for that truck because we will be receiving it in the coming months. So the debt that is going to be issued in September, this article provides the appropriations for that debt service. Okay. With contributory pensions, the final pension assessment letter was recently received, and so this is an adjustment to the contributory pension line for the FY 26 budget.
Any questions?
So basically, the contributory pension is going up by 64,000, principal payments are going down by 70. Interest on bonds going up by 320. And the interest on drawdowns is down by 124 just because of timing.
It's reallocating because when the budget was first put together, the expectation was that we were going to be issuing more temporary debt than permanent, and at this point, we're going, in September, we're changing it. So it's moving it from one bucket to the other, as you can see.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. Move to approve Article 10 supplemental appropriations, line 84 through 97, the amount of $271,933.
Second,
Okay. Teddy,
Aye.
Al,
Aye.
Aye. JRI.
Brenda,
Betsy, I.
Kathleen, I.
Okay, perfect, 600. All right, beautiful. Well, we're making headway on that. And we'll wait to hear back on what the select board does on the 4th of July parade. And we have the citizens petition, coming in on the 29th.
So, Mary,
Yes, sir.
where does our stabilization fund sit?
In terms of the balance?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was actually, if I read the Clipper, properly today, it was quoted in the Clipper as $8 million, and that is incorrect. It's 7 million.
7.
Correct.
Okay,
Just a little over 7. I'm rounding.
all right, so, we have some transfers as we usually do this time of year. Mary, did you want to go through those?
I almost forgot about that. You said,
Yeah, I'm not letting you off the hook on that.
let me find my chart.
Okay, okay.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
I didn't see
Okay.
those.
So yes, it is that time of year again, as we start to come down to the end of the current fiscal year, FY 25. That Mass General Law allows us to move appropriations from one budget line to another to address unforeseen or unexpected circumstances that have happened. So the chart in front of you totals 240. Oh, do you have a copy? I left it on the table right here. I'm sorry.
I'll get it.
Would you mind grabbing one for Brian as well?
Back surgery, moving over.
Oh, yeah.
It's you just sprinting around.
Smooth as can be.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, sir.
Fine.
I didn't realize you were not looking at
You have an
this.
extra, thank you.
I got one.
So that the appropriation transfers are in the sum total of $245,790.66. Listed at the top are where we are moving appropriations from these accounts. As you can see, there are a number of departments that have had vacant positions for FY 24, which is where the funding is coming from. And we are appropriating it to the lines that are listed below to cover the snow and ice deficit of 25,000, to backfill police and fire overtime, 70,000 for police, 90,000 for fire. There was an additional cost for our November town meeting for printing. We had to print extra materials for the MBTA zoning issue that caused that to go over budget. Finance committee, we have 2 adjustments that we need to make. One is funding for salaries. We had held extra meetings over the course of the fall for our budget process that were not factored in when the budget was originally developed. And then a slight change in the Association of Town Finance Committee dues. They increased their dues by $6 on us, which caused that line to go into deficit. Harbor Master, Jake has a need for $500 for additional overtime services. Medicare is the town's share, which is 1.45% of the Medicare tax on employee salaries. We always budget that line item very conservatively and we keep an eye on it. So there's a need for an additional $7,500 there. The last item is for the planning department. We had talked about this before when I came to you guys a few weeks ago or with a reserve fund transfer. And this is the remaining funding that is needed for the town to complete their design work for the exit 20 roundabout. And those are your transfers.
Do you know much detail about the exit 20?
Do I?
Are there gonna be 2 roundabouts
Yes.
for either side?
Yeah, it's gonna be
One
awesome.
big one.
2.
Two.
You're gonna love it, friend.
Gonna be awesome, friend.
You're gonna get locked into a figure 8 of
That's right.
infinity.
It'd be fun.
No, it really works well. I was totally critical of it until I saw it in real life. I'm like, my God, they were
Where'd
right.
you see it in real life?
Where was it? Oh, my God, north of here. They had video of it and they showed the modeling and like, my God, it really does work. I'll find out.
Anything. I mean, that's just the worst intersection.
Well, you
ever.
feel bad for the poor guy that you see. I mean, I don't know if you guys seen him over in the daytime. There's a poor guy that walks from.
I do,
He
yeah.
does it, yeah.
I
okay.
agree.
He walks up and walks around the creek to go over to the grocery store.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, the poor
They're
thing's
taking his
walking like
likeness,
a
yeah.
crawl. But man, there's people zipping by at 65 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's frightening,
It
actually.
is. The poor guy's lucky he hasn't been hit.
So move to approve fiscal year 25 end of year transfers in the amount of $245,790.66.
Second.
Right, Teddy,
Aye.
Al,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Friend,
Betsy, I.
Kathleen, I.
Okay, Mary, do you think we'll have other ones?
Yes,
Okay,
I will be bringing some additional transfers to you at the 29th meeting.
okay,
So when is our next meeting?
29. Our next meeting's on the 29th and,
Actually, just a double roundabout. on Oakwood Street.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So what we need to
Toward the courthouse.
make sure that we have on the agenda is, and I hate to even bring this up, but like some preliminary discussion on meetings for, what will be necessary over the summer. And get that kind of locked down as far as the schedule goes, to make sure that, we're available to you when you need us at that time.
Yeah, I may not have that fully vetted out for next Thursday, but we will certainly have that put together in the coming weeks. So
Before,
probably at town meeting, when we meet, a little bit before town meeting, I may have a schedule ready for you to distribute
okay, I just don't want to have people
for the summer months, for.
meeting what we're gonna do as far as meeting over the summer to get ready. I mean, well, because you've moved everything up.
Sorry.
No, but you've moved up the strategy piece for the select board.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that once you all have worked on that piece, then
You'd like to
that's gonna give us some.
It is to do it all with it, is to get their part done and then kind of keep the same.
Cascade it.
we had,
Okay.
So that's fine. I'm happy if we say we're not gonna be back here till August. I mean,
Yeah,
but I just wanna make sure that we've got it covered, that we've had the conversation.
Exactly.
Linda wants to make sure that we have this room, marked off,
I'm grateful for that.
and so, yeah. All right, cool beans. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.